All right, let's talk about how students progress through their musical pieces and how we track progress. So, in habits, if a student is brand new, we track it slightly different. I'm just tracking something called FERN, the very first process. So, what FERN is it helps us remember what's important when we play a song. We need to have the fingering right. That's the F. We need to play the notes with the right finger numbers, and we need to have our fingers curved. E stands for the expression. The expression is the wrists, whatever's happening with your wrists. That's something that we teach here. And also dynamics and things like that. R stands for the rhythm. The rhythm needs to be accurate, and the notes need to be accurate. So, to recap, fingering, expression, wrists, and dynamics, rhythm, notes. Okay? So if they're brand new student, I'm going to give them a bullseye for each of those items, and we don't worry about these top processes. But later, after they complete that, we just worry about the processes. So FERN becomes the first process for any section. So I'll label out a song by section. So for example, let me get this piece of music on. Okay, for example, this song, actually, I don't think I have one labeled here, but I'll write a section like A with a circle, and then this would have a B with a circle. So when it says A on their chart, it's talking about that section, and when it says B, it would be talking about the next section. And so it's saying, do this section with a particular process. So FERN means hands alone, be able to play all of those items accurately that we just discussed. The next thing you need to do on a piece of music is to put it hands together and find a speed that you can play it perfectly. So this perfect speed is any speed that the student can do. I don't determine that, their body and brain determines that. So they kind of work at getting things hands together, and then once they feel like they can flow through the passage, they put the metronome on and see what speed that is. And then that's kind of their starting point for their hands together. Once I've checked that off, the next process is speed work, which means we got to take it from the speed we can do to the speed it's supposed to end up at. And so we gradually work that up, and that process is called speed work. Then I work on any details that we want. So this can vary from like dynamics to shaping, balancing the hands, just little details. The full chart is a process that we do occasionally. We don't always do this, but it's a useful process for before a performance. So it's just a way of practicing for about a week before a performance, 1 to 2 weeks. It's kind of an intense way of practicing, and you usually do it on the entire song. So usually by the time your whole song's filled out here, then you'll do your full chart, but you're doing it on the entire song. You can do it section by section too. But basically, you practice each hand alone at half the final speed, and then hands together at half the final speed. So that's half speed 3 times, each hand and then hands together. And then you do medium speed twice, and these all have to be accurate. So it has to be completely accurate in your practice. So twice at a medium speed, and then 3 times at the final tempo, one time you're looking at your music. One time you can move it a click above or a click below that speed. And then the final time you take your music away and you're practicing it from memory. So that's the full chart.